Hi. So let us start on assessment criteria 1.3 on brand proposition. Assessment criteria 1.3. Okay, so in this particular assessment criteria, we're going to look at some marketing concepts such as organizational resources. What are resources? In Sinhalese, we call them sampat. Resources. There are four types of resources which we will investigate. Competencies. What are competencies? Competencies in Sinhalese are called nipunata, competencies, things that you do well. And capabilities. Then we are going to look at how you will use all these resources, competencies, capabilities, which we will define in the next slide. How all this can be combined to generate what we called a competitive advantage. In Sinhalese, we call it Tarangakaritve Vasya, a competitive advantage. So how you will use your company's resources, competencies, and capabilities to generate what we called a competitive advantage. So let's investigate these concepts. These are the indicative content. When we talk about resources, we talk about human resources. So that is the first one, people skills. Then financial resources, another type of resources. Then putting together the people, which is an important resource. You talk about how important it is to train and develop and to work within cross-functional teams. So marketing alone can't achieve anything. Marketing needs to work together with production, operations, manufacturing, IT, HR, finance, and all the other functions within the organization to achieve success. We're also going to talk about how innovation will play a role to deliver competitive advantage and how something very, very important to the organization and to marketing, delivering superior customer experience can be a huge asset, a huge resource, or it can be competently delivered within the organization. Internal communications, that is when you how you communicate within the organization. Internal communications, how you communicate within the organization. And we're going to end this by discussing some brand attributes. So if you look at the definitions of the indicative content, resources are sampat. Put together as a definition, it's a collection of all the assets, fixed assets or current assets. It's a sum total, the collection of all the assets or the portfolio of all the assets owned or managed by the organization. Those are called resources. So a company must have a lot of resources. If you look at large companies like MAS, Brandix, the large banks like Bank of Ceylon, Commercial Bank, HNP, they have a lot of resources, a lot of assets. Isn't that right? Think about the kind of branches they have, the computer systems, the people, a lot of resources. Company maintain cars, buildings. Then if you take some manufacturing companies like Unilever, a lot of manufacturing facilities have a lot of resources. They are resource intense. So resources are the sum total of all the assets or the portfolio of assets owned or managed by the organization. Capabilities are the way in which an organization will use these resources to realize their fullest potential. So you can have a lot of resources. Let's say you have rich parents. That means you'll have a lot of resources. So having it and ensuring you use your resources to realize their fullest potential are two different things. So resources are what you possess. Capabilities are what you do with them, the ways in which the organization will use the resources to realize its fullest potential. So you need to ask yourself, am I really leveraging all my resources? If you think you are, then that means you have some capabilities. Competencies or core competencies. What are these? These are the activities that are skillfully and efficiently carried out in the organization, which are central to the organization's success. So core competencies, activities that are skillfully and efficiently carried out, which are central to the organization's success. So example, if you look at Apple, one of the skillful core competencies they carry out, which is central to the organization's success, is design. If you look at the design capability of Apple, right? If you look at the Volvo brand, safe can be something that they are skillfully and efficiently, managing in order to sell more safe cars. Cargills in Sri Lanka, how they manage their suppliers or supply chain management is a skillfully efficient function that is undertaken at Cargills to achieve organizational success. So one must ask, what is our organization's competency? Or if the activity that you do, the competency, is central to the organization's success. Just like supply chain management is very important for a supermarket, therefore it is central to Cargill's success. Then it becomes a core competence. A core competence. And dynamic capabilities. What do you mean by dynamic capabilities? This is not in your syllabus, but I thought I will teach you this. This author Tees et al. Says, sometimes you might be really good at something in the organization. You might have strategic capabilities. You might have core competencies, things that you do really well in the organization. But be careful, because when the environment changes, the competencies that you are really good in also needs to change. Otherwise, there are examples of companies that were really good in something 10 years ago. Today, that is not relevant. And that thing that they were really good in 10 years ago, today, they can't use it. And sometimes the company has been buried in the corporate cemetery because of something they were really good in. I'll give you an example. Kodak is a good example. Back in the 80s, Kodak was the market leader in cameras and film. They were really good in a few things. One of which is they were really good in color labs. Color labs. So the Kodak color labs were all over the country, all over the world, and they were the best. If you think about taking a photo, it's Kodak, right? So it was a core competence. They were really good at it. They have a lot of resources, so many branches, so many people, so many investments, a lot of resources. And the competency was the ability to sort of manage these color labs. That was the core competence. But what happened? The digital camera came along. Sony, Canon, and the others came around with the digital camera. And something that really was a core competency was disrupted, and Kodak said the digital camera won't survive. So they continued to do what they were doing. They didn't invest in digital cameras, and the rest is history. Today, when we are to take a photograph, we will never think of Kodak. So dynamic capabilities is the ability for an organization to renew and recreate its strategic capabilities. I'm reading this slowly. It's an organization's ability to renew and recreate its strategic capabilities to meet the needs of changing environments. So that is something very, very important. You need to keep changing your competencies, your capabilities, so that they stay relevant to the changing times and the changing environment. So your strategic capabilities are a function of your resources and your competencies. You put together all your resources. What are your resources? Resources are what you possess. There are 4 types of resources. Financial resources, things like capital, cash flow, investment, financial strength, right? All that is termed as a financial resource. Then human resources are the people you hire, the skills that you need to develop, train, human resources. Then you have physical resources, like tangible physical resources like buildings, equipment, land, machinery, production equipment, raw materials. All those are classified as physical resources. And then you have general organizational resources, which are the intangible resources. The resources you have in the organization that you can't touch and feel. Intangible resources. Those are things like your customer service, brand. Brand equity is an intangible resource. Remember that very carefully because that is your subject. Brand proposition, that's your subject. Brand equity is an intangible resource. The reputation of a company, it can be made over many, many years, but lost overnight, owing to one small thing, reputation. Contracts, licenses, relationships, all these are intangible but valuable resources of the organization. So coming back into the definition, resources are what you have. There are 4 types. Sampat, 4 types of resources. Simply put, resources are what you possess. Competencies are what you do well with what you have. So resources are what you have. Competencies are what you do well with what you have. I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear. Right? So we move forward to understand this concept called competitive advantage. Tarangakaritve vasi. Right? Competitive advantage. Some people have a natural, they're born with a competitive advantage, like height. You can see this basketball player has a competitive advantage. She's able to compete better because she is tall. That competitive advantage, she didn't do anything. She has got it from birth. Michael Phelps has size 14 feet, like a fish. That's why he's the most decorated Olympian, 28 gold medals. 28 gold medals. Not even Usain Bolt has come close to that. Right? Why? He's using a resource he has. That is a resource. It is a unique resource he has. It is a unique resource he has. But he is leveraging that resource to deliver a competitive advantage. So is this girl you see here. She has a unique resource. She's putting that resource to use to deliver a competency and a competitive advantage. Okay. So what is a competitive advantage? A brand can deliver a competitive advantage. Look at the power of brands like Nike, like Taylor Swift. I have included a video of the Taylor Swift brand in your areas of videos to watch as well. How she has built an empire, the Taylor Swift brand. Have you seen Taylor Swift without makeup? You haven't, right? I hope you know who Taylor Swift is. She's the person who's attracting the most number of people right now to all the concerts which are sold out universally, right? And she's very, very strong. She's a culture now. She has a lot of merchandise. Her songs are doing really well. Her albums are breaking records. And you can see that there's brand management behind, the Taylor Swift brand. It is not organic. It doesn't come, through her natural behavior. It is managed by companies. If someone is managing her brand, her social media, and the other aspects of her brand as well, her personality, to her, how she looks, how she projects herself, her performance, all that is part of the Taylor Swift brand. She's a brand, right? And a very strong brand. And she's a billionaire brand. Okay. So what is a competitive advantage? A competitive advantage, you need to study this, is the means by which an organization can outperform your rivals and earn disproportionate profits or higher than average profits. I'll slowly repeat that. A competitive advantage is the means by which a company can outperform your rivals, your competitors, and earn higher than average profits. So if you're consistently outperforming your rivals, and if you are consistently earning higher than average profits, you have what we call a competitive advantage. A competitive advantage, right? So when we talk about resources and capabilities, I've taken this from a student's assignment when it was a assignment-based mode. I've taken this screenshot to show you that there are 4 types of resources. I told you, resources are 4 types. This is the resources of DMO. You have financial resources, human resources, physical resources, and other intangible general organizational resources. Then the company can have capabilities and activities that are skillfully carried out, which are central to their success, which are called core competencies. So we use this in marketing planning. We analyze your competencies, capabilities, and resources. And more often than not, your brand becomes a very, very important intangible resource. Your reputation, your brand, the trust, all that becomes a very, very important intangible resource. And what you do with that resource, how you build it into a capability, how you build it into a core competency, like Nike has done it really well, like Spa Ceylon has done it really well, how they have built that brand. You can see even the Spa Ceylon brand, the Dilma brand. These are some Sri Lankan examples, right? How they are building those brands. The proposition, the value proposition of those brands are very, very strong. And then you have the #1 brand in the world. If you go into assessment criteria 3.3, right? If you go into that and look at, there are 2 companies I have mentioned there, which are valuing the brand equity of all the global brands. One company is called Brand Finance. So can you pause this lecture and go to assessment criteria 3.3 and go to the website of Brand Finance? I have put the link there and check the #1 brand in the world. Then you will have another company called Interbrand. So Brand Finance is a British company that values global brands and it ranks them. Interbrand is a US company that values all the brands globally. And it has the top 10 brands, top 50 brands, and top 100 brands, top 500 brands in the world. Okay, so you'll see it is dominated today by US brands, but there are increasingly other brands as well, like German, French, and all the other brands that are coming in there as well. Okay. So the brand proposition is something that you need to understand and manage as a competency in your organization. How do you manage your brand proposition, your value proposition? How is it differentiated to that of your competitors? So again, I'm showing you another slide to show you the HEMA's 4 types of resources: financial, physical, human resources, and intangible general resources. This is the HEMA's classification of resources and core competencies as well as strategic capabilities. So you can read through this example leisurely. And one of the other things that we talk of is the VRIN or the VRIO framework. In my book, I have used it as the VRIN framework. This is a screenshot from my book, but there are different authors who use this as the VRIN framework or the VRIO framework, W-R-I-O framework. What does it mean? I have actually put a link for you to read up on the VRIO framework, because although it is not in your assessment criteria, the link comes up for recommended reading, recommended student reading, when you look at the brand proposition recommended reading. Okay, so it comes up, CIM chief examiner has given us that. So you need to understand what the VRIO framework means. VRIO frameworks means that your capabilities in the organization, your competencies, the things that you do well in the organization, right, is not that the marketing manager thinks this is a core competence. It's not about the CEO thinks this is a strategic capability. It must be valued truly by customers. You see, this is the problem. Marketing is done by a marketer, marketing manager. Sometimes we think the customer really likes this feature, but he actually only few number of customers like it. But we think all our customers like it. Is a wrong assumption. So you need to do research to understand, are the capabilities, the competencies, the proposition that you have, the brand proposition, is it valued by customers or is it moderately valued by customers? Right? Is it valued? You need to get customers to rank it, rate it, because again, if you say it's valued, 50% is also valued, right? But I thought it was 90%. No, it was only 50%, right? So you need to do quantitative research to understand how much is it valued by customers, right? Otherwise, all of us think, right? Now, example, I might think all our students might like Cambridge College. I might think so. Why? Because there are students registering with us. We are one of the largest study centers. We are delivering world prizes. I might think so. But I should not, as a marketer, only think and assume. I need to go to students and ask, can you rate us from 1 to 10? Then students will say, right, 7.5. We give you 7.5 rating on average. If 100 students give me that feedback, then I know, okay, right, I have 2.5% to improve. So it must be valued by the customer, not anyone else. So the VRIO framework is important, valued. Then a competency must be rare. If there's something that you do really well, as an organization, but if everyone else also does it, then it is not rare. Did you get it? Right? If there is something that you do really, really well in your organization, but if that is done by others also, then it is not rare. Then you can't differentiate. There's no proposition. So your proposition is strong if it is valued by customers, if it is rare, if others don't also offer it. Then inimitability. Can your competency be imitated easily? Can someone copy it easily? If your competency can be copied easily, then there's no point of that competence. It should not be copied easily. That's what we say, inimitability. It should be difficult to imitate. And you should not be able to substitute it. Substitute it. Substitute it. You know what substitutes are, no? Substitutes are tea and coffee, rice and bread. Okay. So if you are really good at something, someone should not be able to substitute it easily. Example, let's say I'm really, really good at graphic design, right? I'm really good at graphic design. But if someone today is able to do the same thing faster at a lower rate, at a lower cost, through other means, like an app, like a software or ChatGPT, you can generate an AI image in 2 seconds, right? You don't need then a skilled graphic design. So it should, your competency must not be easily substituted, right? Some others use this framework as the VRIO framework. If it is the VRIO framework, the O stands for organized. The company must be organized in a proper way to leverage the capability. So that is the VRIO framework. That is the VRIO framework. Okay. So we sort of spoke about this in a previous assessment criteria as well. The importance of cross-functional teams coming together to deliver the brand proposition within the organization. So the marketing department cannot do it alone. You need all cross-functional teams working together, that is different departments. And, example can be IT, HR, finance, operations, manufacturing, design, delivery, administration. All these departments need to come together so that the customer at the end of the day seamlessly experiences the brand. If it's a service or if it's a product, the brand, the product is delivered across all the departments so that there's cross-functional teams, cross-functional working put together to deliver the brand value proposition. Okay. And innovation is something that is very critical as well. Even when it comes to the product, so the brand is part of the product. You have the naked product, and then you have a brand name, and then you have the brand proposition around it, right? Innovation is very important because innovation is about changing established products, processes, and practices. Innovation thrives best in an organization when it is supported by its culture. So innovation, without innovation, you whatever success you have today will not be sustained over a period of time. This is why, the number one brand in the world by brand finance, Apple, right, continues to innovate. Every year they come up with a new product life cycle, a new product line, and they kill their old product line. Why is that? Because the brand is kept vibrant, the brand is kept new, refreshing, and without innovation, you cannot strengthen your value proposition. Your brand proposition cannot be strengthened continuously. So that freshness needs to be added through innovation, through features, benefits, services, process innovation, and all those. So there are so many reasons to innovate. Why should a company innovate? It brings about novelty. It is a legal protection for the intellectual property of the brand and the product. It provides variety. It gives you a first mover advantage, a robust platform design, right? Example, the iPhone generations. So it helps you continuously innovate and develop new products and product life cycles. It helps you rewrite the rules and configuring the processes. It helps you build kind of an ecosystem and a strategic lock-in of your customers to the entire ecosystem. It avoids strategic drift. It improves productivity, enhances reputation. So you can see innovation is something very, very critical to deliver a strong brand proposition. If you don't continuously innovate, or if you fail to innovate, your competitors do it better than you, you will be irrelevant. You will be irrelevant and you will be disrupted. So innovation is very critical to enhance your value proposition continuously. Another area is to deliver enhanced customer experience, delivering the promised customer experience. We sort of spoke about this in the previous assessment criteria as well, the customer journey, the touch points and the journey that the customer goes through to experience the product or the brand, right? And if you look through here as well, there are so many steps to create a customer experience strategy, right? From step 1 to so many steps. Okay, 9 steps here in this diagram. You can see how you'll understand your current customer service strategy. Then you align your customer service strategy with company's goals, understand your audience intricately, map out the different customer touch points in the journey, set goals and budgets, create an action plan for each customer journey stage, allocate team members' objectives, responsibilities so that it is fulfilled by people, measure, evaluate your performance, and continuously improve. So you can see a series of steps that is being undertaken to create a customer experience strategy. You can have the best product. In terms of technical superiority, you can have the best product. You can create the best phone or camera or whatever, right? It can be the best product. But if your service experience fails, your value proposition fails, your brand proposition fails, and you need to have an enhanced customer experience in order to have a strong value proposition. Okay. Another thing that you need to get right as per your assessment criteria is to have strong internal communications. Now, what do you mean by internal communications? Here are some examples that you see in this diagram. Your company vision, mission, values. All our companies have that, right? A vision statement, mission statement, values. That is also communicated inside the organization, right? You have announcements, notice boards, you have annual reports, news, emails, all staff emails, intranet. All these things are part of internal communications, including the meetings and the conferences that you have, right? So internal communication is the entire process within the organization, includes how information is shared up and down, right? Horizontally, vertically. It can be verbal, written, emails, shared digitally via intranets, emails, all that, WhatsApp. So internal communication is very, very important for you to coordinate, across the different functions to deliver a strong brand proposition, right? And then we come into brand attributes. What do you mean by brand attributes? They are traits or values that the audience perceived as a brand's quality, features, behavior, right? Those that interact with the brand, associate attributes with it, forming a collective knowledge of what the brand is and what the brand represents. So you can see some examples here. When we talk about attributes of a brand, we talk about the relevance of it. the consistency of the brand, right? So if you go to Walmart, right, all Walmarts in the world, when you walk in, do you get the same consistency? Let's say a McDonald's that now is not in Sri Lanka, right? But if you walk into a McDonald's anywhere in the world, do you get the same consistency? Product consistency, service consistency, or if you go to a Starbucks. So when you talk about brands, the brand attributes, all these things need to reach excellence. The relevance of the brand, the consistency of the brand, the positioning of the brand, the positioning which is in the mind of the customer, right? Sustainability credentials of the brand, what it does, brands like Body Shop, what it does, right? There are so many brands that engage in sustainability, enhancing their sustainability credentials, which is expressed in the triple bottom line: profit, people, and planet, societal objectives, environmental objectives. And then you have the credibility of the brand, the authenticity. The credibility. Is the brand seen as authentic? When Louis Vuitton or Chanel or Hermes or Prada or any luxury brand comes out and says, this bag is so much, right? So many millions. Do you believe that the material is of quality? Do you believe that the craftsmanship is of quality? Or do you see it as, something that is not authentic, not credible? So then the brand will suffer. So credibility is very, very important. Brand credibility is very, very important. Inspiration of the brand and the uniqueness of your brand. All these form the attributes of a brand. The attributes of a brand. And when we talk about attributes, we have this theory called the hard attributes and the soft attributes of the brand. So the hard attributes are the tangible features, right, that are developed through the text, image, sound, videos, right? The name of the company, vision, logo, slogan, the brand mantra, brand signage, images, gestures, music, songs, all those, the colors, all those are hard attributes of the brand. Hard attributes of the brand. The soft attributes of the brand are the intangible features that are developed through the implementation of different value creation strategies. So the soft attributes are uniqueness of a brand, right? Appeal, the positioning, the credibility, the consistency, the sustainability. All these are the soft attributes of the brand. So you have the hard attributes of the brand and the soft attributes of the brand. So in summary, let's summarize what we have done for this assessment criteria. In summary, we looked at many theories, right? But we are fundamentally here trying to understand how companies will have a look at their assets or resources, their competencies, their strategic capabilities that will deliver a competitive advantage. And your brand proposition is a very important resource. How you manage the brand is a very important competence. And put together, the resource and the competency will give you a competitive advantage. So that's it for the first chapter. We are done with the first chapter now. We've looked at assessment criteria 1.1, 1.2, and now we have completed 1.3. We will be doing an exam to test your knowledge at the end of chapter 1. I'll see you in chapter 2.